So it is literally one day before I leave for Vegas, and granted this video should have been released 2 months ago. I was just really busy and also procrastinated a lot. That being said, a lot more information has been provided, and this is due to the other regional qualifier taking place last week, and also just updates to the events and prize walls and such. More information will be shared at the end of the story. This is the worst trip I have ever been on. December 4th, 2025, Thursday. I got off work at around 5. As my flight is at 7, I didn't have time to head home, so I went straight for the airport. Transiting from downtown straight to YVR, I got there around 5:30. After going through customs, I got 2 bags of chips while waiting for my flight. I know that airport food is generally more expensive, but it's still cheaper than spending USD. Soon after I boarded my flight. The flight was cramped, but it wasn't terrible. It was a relatively smooth flight, just under 2 hours. I arrived in San Francisco around 9. I got hungry, so I finished both bags of chips while I waited during my layover. This is probably due to not having dinner. Getting back on the plane, this time it had a bad scent and it was extra cramped. I think it was a mix of different scents in addition to someone using Axe body spray or something. Luckily, as the plane took off, the circulation got better and I either got numb to the scent or it dissipated. It is now December 5th, Friday. I arrived in Houston around 3:30 in the morning, I think. I wasn't able to call, so I had a friend of mine contact the hotel to see if I could check in early. Unfortunately, no luck, so I kind of just wandered around the airport. I looked for the airport guide, but it was too early, so there was nobody there. Using Google Maps, I determined that it would probably take me around an hour to transit to my hotel. So ultimately I decided to take an Uber, as it would save me a lot of time. Mainly it was due to convenience and safety, as I have never been here before. This also took me a while because I was very indecisive while I paced around the airport. It was around 6:30 in the morning when I took an Uber to my hotel, and I arrived around 7:10. As mentioned prior, I wasn't able to check in, but they did have bag check. They also offered breakfast, but I felt bad because I technically haven't checked in yet. This was a very big mistake, but I did make myself a cup of tea. I sat in the lobby, rested my eyes a little bit, doom scrolled a bit, and just killed some time. Around 8 o'clock, I was feeling a little bit hungry, so I decided to head to the convention center. Badge pickup was at 9. I was thinking I could grab my badge, get some food nearby, then wait in line closer to 12, as that is when the doors open. I left my hotel at 9 and I got there 10 minutes later. I looked for the entrance and started to navigate the giant building. We were told that it was on the 2nd floor, and when we got there, there was this giant lineup. Turns out that lineup isn't even for picking up the badge. It was for entering the actual event. I went and acquired my badge and decided to wait in line instead of grabbing a bite, because the line was simply too long. From there, I would alternate between sitting and standing while people around me played Riftbound. I think it was around 12:15 when the line finally started to move. It kept moving and stopping, and the end just never seemed to be in sight. I think I got in around 12:35. I then quickly navigated through the entrance area and saw these giant sign banners that were hung across the area. There were staff directing people, and in order to sign up for the side events, there was another line. I quickly found the end of the line and started waiting in line again. The event I wanted to do was the 2v2 team challenge, and it was scheduled at 1:30. It was 1 o'clock as I waited in line, but due to how pushed back things were, it was understandable that events were delayed. The first side event that was supposed to start at 1 ended up starting at 1:30, and my 1:30 event was pushed till 2 o'clock. On the website, it stated that players sign up individually, and will be put into teams. I signed up and assumed I was good to go. I walked around after signing up and slowly moved towards the area for 2v2. As 2 p.m. rolled around, they put up a printed matchup list. I went to my assigned table, and that's when I realized I didn't have a partner. I went to the judge to bring up my concern and explain how I don't have a partner, but also show them that the website states they'll match a partner with me. The judge referred me to another judge, which led me to the first amazing person I've encountered. I did not learn her name until later that day, but her name is Liz. I explained my situation to Liz and showed them that the website shows that we are to sign up alone. However, she explained that they did not have a team making system, so I was left without a partner. The only thing she could do was to either refund my event or sign me up for something different. For some context, there were a total of 2v2 team challenge events. One was on Friday, and the other one was on Saturday. In addition, I am terrible at this game. I've accumulated over 40 losses while only having 2 wins. According to the latest UVS stats, I actually have a 20% win rate, and this is like way after when I started winning a little bit more. I specifically built and brought a deck for 2v2, so this was what I wanted to do. Yet now, I'm forced to drop from the event. One could say that I just need to find a partner for the next day and try again. But that wasn't really the case either. The problem causes a conflict as I have a competitor pass, and so I'm competing in the main event. If I choose to do the 2v2 team challenge on the second day, I would have to drop from the main event. An alternate option would be to sign up for the 2v2 sealed draft event on the last day, but this has its own set of problems. For one, I don't really want to wait till the last day as it might conflict with my flight. For another, I just don't really want more cards, and doing a sealed event means I get more cards. I saw my plans fall apart by the second. I couldn't compete in the 2v2 team challenge for Friday anymore. And among all the events on Friday, that was the event that I had the most confidence in. Being in top 32 out of 64 would get you 6 tickets. Then top 16 would get you even more. These tickets were used to exchange for prizes from the prize wall, and I was looking at one item in particular: the redeemable metal cards. These weren't the same as the best of metal cards, but it felt like a very neat thing to have. In addition, it is completely legal to use, and I could get this instead of a plush that collects dust or just more cards. These were 10 tickets each, and they had limited stock. I believe it was 10, 10, 15 in total across the 3 days. This also means that if I leave it till the last day to exchange, there's probably a decent chance that they would be out of them. My idea was to do decent in the 2v2 on day 1 so I can get enough tickets to get my medal card, then focus on the main event on day 2, wrapping up with another quick side event before I leave on Sunday. And now, none of this would work. I looked at the available events on Friday. 3 o'clock was the sealed deck event, 5 o'clock was the champion trial deck event, followed by 7:30 Nexus Nights. The sealed deck event only gets you 6 tickets, and that is only if you win everything. The champion trial deck is 1 ticket per win, so at most you can only get 3. And finally, the Nexus Night gave 2 per win and had 4 rounds, but there was no way I was going to win. I had only brought a deck I made specifically for 2v2 and a Garen deck for the main event. At that moment, the best option I had was the sealed deck event, so I chose that instead of doing nothing. Liz signed me up for the event and I thanked them. It wasn't what I wanted, but it was the best out of my remaining options. I left the registration area and wandered around the floor, looking at all the displays I skipped on the way in. I think this was around 2:30, so there wasn't all that much time to do much or participate in an on-demand event. Granted, at this time, I probably should have grabbed something to eat and drink, but I don't like to get my hands oily before playing. Yes, I'm well aware that bathrooms exist, but I just prefer not to. I was also quite upset, so I either didn't have an appetite or was just too angry to eat. Around 3 o'clock, I walked back towards the registration, but the event did not seem like it was starting. Due to all the delays, all the events were pushed back, so I walked around some more. I assumed I didn't really have time to fit another event between, but when I rechecked the event page, for some reason, it said 5 p.m. This was around 4:15, so maybe I did have time to fit a free-for-all as those were a single game. I walked back to the registration area and I saw Liz asking if there were any solo players that were interested in a free-for-all. I quickly raised my hand and volunteered. She saw me and led me to registration. I thanked her and asked her if this would conflict with the other event at 5. She looked at me puzzled, saying that the event started. My heart sank. Did I miss my event? Turns out, the 5 p.m. was the starting time of the matches. I think. I am honestly not sure anymore. She quickly assigned another staff to help me get set up, and they decided to give me an extra hour to build my deck and get a bye for my first round. This was honestly super kind of them. A judge took me to the tables and explained the draft rules. They then left me to build my own deck. At this point, I really wanted to break down and just cry. This trip has gone off to an extremely rough start, and everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. My plans were falling apart, I didn't really have friends there, I was all by myself. I started opening my packs. Surprisingly, the pulls were decent. Pulling a decent pricey card might just help me through the tournament. The downside is that even if I win it all, I'd only have 6. Just a little over halfway of my goal of 10. This was also around 5, so I've been awake for essentially 33 hours. The last quote-unquote meal I had was airplane snacks 12 hours ago. I've been at the event location for like 8 hours, and I have yet to play a single game of Riftbound. And out of those 8 hours, I was basically waiting in line for a good half of that. At this point, I do want to make a note that they did implement online event sign up for the side events after the first day, so that was definitely a great change. I pulled myself together and completed my sealed deck. This was roughly when the next round started, so I went to my table. Upon sitting down, the first thing my opponent said was, "If you win, I'll buy your ticket." I was very confused, so I asked them to elaborate. Turns out they were offering $20 cash for the tickets. I felt a mix of disbelief and anger. Our game went to game 3, and I was lucky enough to win. As they announced earlier, they offered to purchase my ticket, and I politely declined. I then went to my final match, and my opponent won the first round. This doesn't look good for me. But luckily, he wanted to attend a different event, so he offered to split the tickets. I didn't really want to push my luck, so I took the offer. This was around 7 p.m. With my buy, the win, and the split, I've accumulated a total of 5 tickets, exactly at the halfway point. I probably could have lined up and did some free-for-all, but I was too tired and hungry. In addition, I was meeting an online friend for the first time, so I couldn't really do any more events. I walked back to the staff that helped me get set up for the event and asked if I could thank Liz in person. He went to get her, and that's when we first introduced each other. I thanked her and explained how everything went wrong, but she made my day better. I also explained my dilemma in needing to drop the main event because of the side event schedule conflict with the main event, in addition to not having a partner. She responded that if I was still unable to acquire a partner, she'll do everything she can to get me one. It was time to go as my friend was approaching, so I thanked her and started to head out. Before leaving, I stopped by the prize wall to see what was still available. The more popular metal cards such as Kaisa, Annie, Ari, Yi for the day were all gone. There were still a good amount of the other cards. I wanted Yasuo, and I'm glad he wasn't that popular at that time. There was still, I think, 3 or 4 left. I'll get it tomorrow, I thought to myself. My friend arrived and picked me up, and we went to have dinner. As this isn't exactly relevant to the regional qualifier, I'll just summarize it. The food was okay, not great, but I was too hungry to care. They dropped me off after a while, then I showered and passed out. It is now Saturday, December 6th. On the second day of the event, I woke up around 8 o'clock, had breakfast, and arrived at the convention center at 9 o'clock. For day 2, the doors open at 9 and the main event starts at 9:30. I lined up and waited. As the line started to move, I realized that this convention center is a huge repeating liminal space. If you were to walk from one end to the other, you would see the exact same layout repeat itself multiple times. I didn't notice it until I was moving along the lines and thinking, wait, didn't we pass by this area a few times? As I moved along the line, I browsed the Discord channel from the Riftbound community server. Ever since yesterday, I've been trying to find a partner for today's 2v2 team challenge, but with no luck. At 9:14, someone posted that every single metal card was sold out. Apparently, people were lining up at 4 o'clock in the morning to be first in line to acquire the metal cards. In the span of one day, people have been buying and selling tickets non-stop, and the scalpers have gotten their hands on the metal cards. I knew that the scalpers got their hands on it because someone behind me in line commented that the metal Kaisa was sold on eBay for $2,000 at that moment. I think the going price for tickets was 35 to 40 USD each, which I find extremely wild. It was once again a terrible feeling, mainly because I'm only halfway to 10 tickets. In addition, I have the main event to attend, and I still don't have a partner for the 2v2 team challenge. While I know that there are still metal cards reserved for the last day, I basically have my back against the wall. I shuffled through the line, got through security, and into the area. I sat down and completed my deck list for the main event, then waited for the main event to start. Shortly the event started, I brought my Garen deck and sat down at my table. I went up against Set in my first match and lost 2-0. When the game ended, I walked around to see just how many Garen players there were. I think I spotted 3, but I'm pretty sure there were more. Afterwards, I started going around looking for people sitting by themselves and asking if they'd be interested in doing the 2v2 team challenge with me. No luck, unfortunately. The second round commenced, so I went back to my table once again. This time, I was up against Kaisa, and I lost 2-0 again. It was around 12 o'clock, and the 2v2 team challenge event was being held at 1. I tried to find a partner, but still was not able to. At around 12:30, it was cutting it close, so I went to look for Liz. I went up to the registration area and found her, asking if she could help me find a partner. As promised, she got another staff member to make a recruiting announcement with a microphone, and sure enough, there was a player that was down to be my partner. So now I have a teammate, and all that's left is winning enough games to get more than 4 tickets. The minimum was being top 32, getting me 6 tickets. 1 PM rolled around and we proceeded to our table. In our first match, we were up against casual players. We got lucky and won. The second match, we went up against double Aurora, and that didn't go so well. We're currently 1-1, no biggie. But I do want to point out that my teammate and I didn't really synergize all that great. They were running Aurora Yi, and somehow they did not manage to play Aurora for the first 2 games. Moving into the third match, we were up against Kaisa Yi, and we lost once again. Things were really not looking great. I really needed the top 32 to get enough tickets. Miraculously, enough people dropped from the event. That, or there just weren't that many players in the first place. So there were only 32 teams remaining. This means that I'm guaranteed 6 tickets. Obviously, I'd like more, but I'll take what I can get. The fourth round was a bye, bringing our score to 2-2. It was not within top 16, so I only got my 6 tickets. This was between 7 to 7:30 by the time the event ended. That being said, I did accumulate enough tickets for my metal card. Only one problem. They were out until tomorrow. I started to contemplate my life choices. We were so close and yet so far. I earned my tickets. I worked hard for them, and the prize is just within reach. But this probably means I need to camp out. Knowing that the people camped out at 4 o'clock in the morning on the previous day tells me that I would have to be even earlier. But honestly, I'm not getting any younger. Being awake for over 40 hours from Thursday to Friday was already terrible for me. If I had to camp out, it would probably do long-term damage. I walked around the convention center weighing my options. There were lots of wild ideas. In the Discord group, some people were even considering hiding in the building so they don't have to wait outside. At this time, someone came around asking if anyone was interested in purchasing the metal Lux card. They wanted to sell it for $1,000. Hearing that was very frustrating and irritating. Throughout the weekend, whenever I had some time with nothing to do, I'd go say hi to Liz. Maybe I really should be grabbing a bite, but I didn't really feel like it. I always made sure to step aside whenever someone needed their assistance, so I wasn't in the way of them working. Though, thinking back, I may have been quite selfish. Maybe they rather enjoy the peace and quiet in between helping people. I think it was around 9 or 9:30 when I was approached by another staff member. They introduced themselves as Emily. They told me that they noticed Liz enjoying my company, so they had a feeling that I was a good person. Hearing this also helped me feel a little bit better because I wasn't sure if I was being annoying. They asked if they could borrow a deck of mine because their close friend wanted to play but had no deck. I said yes simply because I know all too well how it feels to want to play but be unable to. I lent them my deck and just sat down nearby and told Emily my story so far. It was quite a rough journey. Their friend finished the game and handed back the deck. I was still deciding what to do. While I was still contemplating to do for the last day, something unexpected happened. Everyone received an email. The email stated, for the final day, the remaining metal cards will be raffled to anyone who attended any side events in the past 2 days instead. The raffle will take place at 11, and winners had till 6 in the afternoon to purchase the cards. This was honestly great because I can rest properly and it would not change anything. At the same time, this also means I won't be guaranteed to acquire a metal card, but to be fair, health always comes first. I said my goodbyes and left. Across the convention center was a hotel with a restaurant. I haven't eaten anything since breakfast, so I stopped for some food, then took an Uber back for rest and recovery. I think I got back by 12:30. Thinking that I was able to get a good amount of rest, but there was somehow another event happening nearby, so it was quite loud till 2 o'clock in the morning. Either it ended during that time or I just passed out. It is Sunday, December 7th, the last day. I've cleaned up, had breakfast, and checked out, then I left for the convention center. On this day, I got there around 9:30. There was no lineup. It's kind of wild how an email changes everything. I went to say hi to Liz and Emily alongside the people I've met throughout the weekend. Then I just slowly waited for 11 o'clock to approach. The people started to gather around the prize wall as the time got closer. It literally looked like Black Friday. A lot of the judges and staff standing at the front of the line to ensure safety and essentially holding the place down. 11 o'clock rolled around, nothing. For a few minutes, nothing happened, and it was really quiet as well. It wasn't until 11:05 when, very slowly, people started to move towards the entrance of the line. It was still rather quiet, but slowly more and more people were walking up to acquire their metal cards. I was unlucky. I did not get one. After confirmation that all the winning emails went out, I decided to call it. I handed my prize tickets and badge to Emily and told them that if there was any chance where the winners didn't all claim them and another round of email went out and somehow I won, please exchange it for me as I will be on a plane at 6 o'clock. I also told them what I prefer as a backup prizing in case I don't get the metal card. I thanked them, said my goodbyes, took one last look, and called an Uber. I took the Uber to a restaurant a few locals recommended, bumped into another Riftbound player, had my last meal at Houston, then headed for the airport. Right before boarding, I sent out a thank you message to Liz and Emily. A couple hours later, I arrived back in Vancouver. I turned off airplane mode to see the news waiting for me. I did not get a metal card. It was very unfortunate, but that's just how things are sometimes. Emily explained that my backup prize has been secured and was sorry that I didn't get the metal card. I thanked her and looked forward to when our paths cross again. This was a story about the worst trip I have ever been on, and yet, if I had to do it all over again, I would have 100%. The thing is, if the event went really well for me, I probably wouldn't have had the chance to befriend Liz and Emily. I hope this video was insightful, and I hope that the Riot team, UVS, and whomever is in charge of future events can see this and use it to help improve future events. I, for one, was lucky enough to land a ticket for Vegas, so I hope I can acquire a metal card this time around. That in itself is a whole other headache, but will probably be a story for another day. To everyone, thank you for your time, and thank you for listening. If anyone has any questions regarding Houston, or just want to play some Riftbound, feel free to reach out. And to Liz and Emily, words can't describe how much I appreciate you both, and how glad I am to have met you two. Thank you both so much, and I look forward to seeing you both again someday. So a lot has changed since Houston. They released the event schedule for the Las Vegas Regional Qualifier and also the prize wall. The plated legends, as they call it, are now 40 tickets each instead of 10 back at Houston. In addition, the event I was planning on doing, the 2v2 team challenge at Houston, if you placed first, you would get 48 tickets each. At Las Vegas, you are only going to get 10. So realistically, I'm not sure if I'll be able to get a metal card, but I will certainly try. And ultimately, if I don't, well.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna go build my own theme park with blackjack and hookers. In fact, forget the park.
Anyways, thanks for watching and hope to see you at Las Vegas.